Everybody can agree on the what. It's the how that we fight about. How you going to do it? I don't like the way you're doing it. Well, I don't like the way you're doing it. Never mind all that crap. How'd it turn out? How's it going to turn out? I was born in California. Even though I sound like an Okie or I'm from Texas, I was born in California, raised in California. I've had probably 20 different professions in my life. I'm what you call an unstable character. I get bored after about 2 or 3 years with just about anything. Once I've learned all I think I can learn about something, I want to get on to the next one. And I've done that all my life, and I'm still kind of doing that. The real estate business, for example, I've been in that business 3 different times in my life. The first time I was too young, and people thought, he don't know nothing, he ain't old enough to know anything. That's, And the next time was, he's too aggressive, he must need money because he's pushing like hell. And then this last time I got into it just to show off in front of my grandson, get him interested in this business. The old song says, he's just an old hippie and he don't know what to do, trying to hang on to the old while he gets on with the new. That's me. And that's him. He's the new, I'm the old. But it worked. When I was about 14, about 14, my dad would buy ranches, and none of them ever had fences on them. We were in the cattle business. We had cattle and mules, and every damn ranch he'd buy, no fences. So I learned how to build fences from a little kid. And we had a place, there was 1,000 acres we had up there in Grass Valley, right on Bear River. And this is one of my defining moments, first one I can remember. There was a guy that lived on the ranch next door, and his name was Blackie. Don't know his last name, just Blackie. That's who he was to me. And Blackie was he was a logger. And he used to run a skidder. That's when they had the dozers in the field, bulldozers running up and down those mountains. And he had one on that ranch next door. And he was clearing the place in his spare time. And I'd watch him out there on that bulldozer on steep ground, pushing stuff, sliding sideways down. The guy was amazing on that dozer. And I got to know him, and he was kind of a big thing in my life, I knew Blackie. Blackie owned that cat, and he's doing all this and that. And we'd sit and talk sometimes at night. I stayed there at their place while we were building the fences. I stayed all summer on that ranch. One full summer building fences. And I stayed with Blackie and another guy and a woman. I don't know who was his wife or the other guy's wife. I didn't know. Can't remember. But he'd tell me stories. Talk stories. And I really liked the guy. And my dad and I had a lousy relationship because him and I fought like cats and dogs. And I kind of hooked onto this guy. And he told me one day, he says, in your life, if you ever find that it's just not working out here, this world is bigger than this. Go over here. Don't take any of this with you and put it together here. You don't have roots in the ground. You can move. Then he died. Tom T. Hall has a song, I remember the day that Clayton Delaney died. Well, I remember the day that Blackie died. A year later, I left home. I moved out of my parents' house when I was 15. When he told me that story, And then when he died, I got to thinking about what he had said, and I made a decision based on that to leave home. If I hadn't left home when I did, my old man probably would have killed me, or I'd have killed him. Some people have the same experience over and over and over and over and over, and at the end of 40 years, they think they have 40 years experience. No, you had one experience 40 times. And then you have the person that has a different experience, and a different experience, and a different experience. There's a joker that's got 40 years of experience. I was a heathen until I was 32 years old. And I married Diane when I was, 30? That's when I married Diane. I was still a heathen. She was a believer. But she was the kind of believer that I read about now in the Bible. She didn't rag on me. She didn't, gripe and piss and moan all the time. You don't go to school and you cuss too much. And she didn't do any of that. What she did was she lived it. And I could see something in her that I didn't have. She could lay down and go to sleep at night. She was at peace, calm. I never saw her get crazy, throwing shit around and breaking stuff, mad and, charging like I never saw that in her. She had something that I didn't have. And I decided I would like to find out what that is, because I didn't have peace. I'd fight at the drop of a hat. I was, bull in the china closet. And because of her and the way she was, I found out who he was, and it changed my life. I grew up in a situation that there was a lot of stinginess. You don't hear that word very often anymore, do you? Stingy. That's an old-time word. And I decided a long, long time ago that I didn't want to be that. I wanted to be different. I met some older people. Some you couldn't squeeze an ounce of information out of them if you ran over with a steamroller. And a couple of them would sit down and share what they have learned and some of the train wrecks they'd been in. They'd share them. I wanted to be in this camp. And I developed a philosophy that if a guy has a whole bunch of information and won't share it with the younger people, I ought to cut his head off with a machete. That was my philosophy. So I would like to be remembered as somebody that was generous with his time and his resources. And no bullshit. Straight shooter. I think the technology is fantastic. There are certain areas of technology is just unbelievable. In the medical field, I see unbelievable stuff. And I see ease of living. It makes life easier to live. We're living longer. We don't have to go out and work 12 hours a day and sweat 40 gallons of water out of us every day. I see that technology there as a great thing. What I don't like about technology is that if you send me a text and it's got about 35 words in it, I can look at that text and I'll be damned. I can't figure out if you're mad, glad. I can't hear and see and feel the emotion that you had when you wrote this. So I'm probably looking at something here erroneously. I might be thinking that we're getting along just great, when in fact, You're coming after me with the machete. I hate the pornography. I hate the slime side of technology. I think the internet, I tell you what, there's you can learn how to pick a banjo on the internet, but you can learn how to do some other things on the internet too. Being an American means that I get to live in a country that allows me to be who I am. It allows me to take the gifts that I was given at birth and use them according to how I see. I get to choose the kind of clothes I wear. I get to choose the kind of cars I drive. I get to choose the kind of house I live in, where I live. I get to choose the kind of education I want. I get to choose the kind of employment I want. I get to choose whether I want to work for somebody or work for myself. I get those choices. It's a way of life. It's like I've told my grandkids, you know, look at how you want to live. Go for that. Don't go for the money. And where else in this world could you live the way we live here today? And the thing that makes me stronger feeling about that are these dimwits we have in this country that don't love this country. I love to be an American. Being an American is the most special privilege that is ever offered in this world. And we got these jackasses out here that want to go back to socialism. Bring them to my house. If I can't cure them, I'll kill them. I guess the biggest problem we have is we're now perpetuating different ways of thinking. We have this side and we have this side. And this side won't even listen to that side anymore. And that side won't even listen to this side. So we've drawn a line in the sand in our country, and we got them on this side and we got them on this side, and we throw rocks at each other. We throw rocks at each other. That's a problem. Solution? We can't take their rocks away. They're going to find stuff to throw at each other. We really can't. So I go back to that book I was telling you about. That guy I met when I met Diane told me maybe I ought to read. That manual. And I look in there and there's a picture of exactly what's been going on. There's the solution right there in black and white. I wonder why nobody sees that. What's he talking about? Can you imagine being in that party? Get down there by the Red Sea, and them Egyptians are breathing down their neck. They let them go, but now they want them back because they don't want to do that work back there. They want these assholes to do the work, so they're going to go get them and bring them back. They can't. Don't let them go. We're going to have to pick them peaches or whatever. And there they are, and that Red Sea opens up, and they walk across. And when all those chariots and all those Egyptians get in there and they're pressing down on them, get down into that thing, it just closes up. Can you imagine being one of those people, seeing that? Would you believe that there's a power out there greater than us if you saw and witnessed that? Did they? No. They're over on the other side, and it wasn't 2-3 weeks later they're pissing and moaning because they didn't have nothing to eat. At least we had something to eat back there. We should have stayed back there. That was going on within 2 weeks. Can you see any similarities here? God in his infinite wisdom said to Moses, and so everybody else could hear it, this generation will not see the promised land. This generation ain't going. So what happened? They wandered around that desert for 40 years until that generation died off and the new ones got to go in. What did he just say? Quit talking to these older people who've already got their minds set up to throw goddamn rocks and hand grenades at each other. Go back to that younger set. Go down to the babies and teach the babies what needs to be taught. Don't even listen to these people. Try to hold this thing together so they don't obliterate us until this generation can come up and supersede them. Let this bunch die off. Don't spend your energy and resources on this bunch. Go back down to them young ones. Teach the babies. Our country and this world 10 years from now we're at crossroads. We're either going to look like Venezuela 10 years from now. We're headed that way if we go that way. Or we're going to go back to pre-1941 to where apple pie, grandma's house at Sunday school, fried chicken on Sunday. We're all going to get together over Aunt so-and-so's house, and we're going to have dancing and singing, and we're going to do some steer roping and have a big barbecue, and we're going to put up a barn. All the neighbors are going to get together and put a barn up. Benjamin Franklin said, we should all be agrarian. We should all have 20 acres or 40 so that we can raise something. We can teach our kids where eggs come from. We can teach our kids where milk comes from. We can teach them that you got to take care of your animals. You got to do your chores before you take care of you. You got to take care of that land, just like it says in that book, that manual I was talking about. Ever since Adam and Eve were in this country, weeds grow. Man, you don't have to water them. You don't have to plant them. They grow by themselves. They'll choke out good stuff. You got to fight them every day. That's all in the book as to how we got there. So we have a choice. We're standing right here at this, turn left or turn right. Venezuela, or maybe we all get 20 or 40 acres out in the country. They say you become what you think about most. That's 90% true, 10% false. Here's how I know. If it was 100% true, if you become what you think about most, by the time I was a senior in high school, I'd have been a big pair of tits.